Good Time is directed by the Safdie brothers and stars Robert Pattinson, Benny Safdie, Jennifer Jason Leigh and Barkhad Adbi. The movie follows two brothers played by Benny Safdie and Robert Pattinson who decide to rob a bank, and obviously the heist goes wrong, leading to one of them being arrested. Now Robert Pattinson's character must spend the entire night trying to get enough money to get his brother out of jail. I'm just going to cut the bullshit on this one and go straight into it. I loved Good Time. It was incredibly intense and I was on the edge of my seat from literally start to finish. And what made it even better is the fact that it's utterly unpredictable. It feels like you're watching actual things happen because it's kind of grounded in realism despite all this batshit crazy stuff happening. And I honestly didn't know where it was going to go. I think what added to the realism and the unpredictability of it is the way it's filmed. The cinematography in this movie is absolutely amazing. Every single shot oozes with atmosphere, and every single shot is pretty much drenched in these neon, very dark but also very bright colours, and I absolutely loved what they did with it. It made the movie just that bit more hypnotic, and it honestly kept me engaged throughout the entire runtime. However, this neon-styled cinematography is put together with very documentary-esque camera work. A lot of the shots in this movie are very rough around the edges, and nothing looks particularly clean, which adds to the grittiness of the movie, and I really think it works. There aren't that many, smooth looking shots. A lot of them are very shaky and in your face, and there's a lot of close-ups in this movie. But it works for the sake of the movie. It puts you in the main character's shoes and you feel for him, even though this is like the worst night of his life. I also thought the score for this movie was rather interesting. It was very synth driven and it gave the movie a sense of urgency, which was very well needed in a movie like this, because the entire movie is just relentless as soon as it starts. But the other thing that I thought was quite interesting is the fact that there are times where the dialogue or the audio you're supposed to be hearing in the movie just completely goes, and they just put 100% emphasis on the score. For example, there's a moment near the start where the two brothers are having a heart-to-heart, and what dialogue is supposed to be there is completely cut from the movie, and instead you just have this blaring synth-driven soundtrack as loud as possible, taking up all of the audio. And in other movies that would annoy me, but here somehow it works. There are just moments here and there where all audio's taken out and the score is front and centre stage, and it really, really works. Now, I can't talk about this movie without mentioning the performances, and they are really good across the board. The standout, though, being Robert Pattinson. When I was watching this movie, I didn't see Robert Pattinson. All images of Cedric Diggory or Edward Cullen were just completely erased from my head, and it looked like I was watching someone completely different. He did a fantastic job in this movie. He was completely unrecognisable, and one thing I really liked about his character is even though he's playing a complete and utter scumbag with no redeeming qualities about him whatsoever, you still want him to make it out of this night alive, and you want him to succeed in what he's doing, despite the fact that he's pretty much a piece of shit. The supporting actors I thought were really good in the movie as well. You have Benny Safdie playing the other main character brother, and I thought he was really good in this movie. When the movie started, I was a little bit confused as to where they were going with his character in terms of like certain choices they decided to give him. But a couple scenes later, they clarified something, and then it made 100% sense, and I was from that point on board with his character, and I thought he did a really good job with what they were going for. You also have other people in there like Jennifer Jason Leigh, who isn't in the movie for long, but does do a really good job with what she's given. I also really love the writing in this movie as well. None of the dialogue felt Hollywoodized whatsoever. It felt very grounded in reality, and for a movie like this, you kind of need it to be like that. None of the characters talk as if it's convenient to the script or the story. They just say it as it is. And again, even though a lot of these characters, especially the main character, are utter pieces of shit, the dialogue they are spouting off feels real, which makes them a lot more relatable, because you can empathise with them because you know these are real people. Now, I do have but one flaw with this movie, and some people could consider it as a nitpick, but that flaw is that there is a good section of the movie where Robert Pattinson's character has to lay low in a house. And even though at first it is quite interesting, it doesn't really go anywhere that quick. And seeing that a lot of the movie is very fast paced and pretty intense, this section of the movie does kind of drag a little. I completely get why it's in the movie, but I just felt as the scene was happening, I could have been seeing other more intense, more entertaining stuff happen with Robert Pattinson's character out on the streets. And I just feel as if that scene in the house was also significantly slower than any other part of the movie, which is probably why it stuck out like a sore thumb. Besides that, I highly recommend Good Time. It's probably one of my favourite movies of the year so far, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I was thoroughly entertained throughout the entire thing, and there are some moments that will make you laugh, and there are also some moments that will actually make you gasp. So guys, that was my review for Good Time. I hope you enjoyed it. I just want to quickly apologise for the lack of reviews recently in the last couple of weeks. I've kind of been bombarded with both uni work and other stuff, but don't worry. I will have plenty more reviews on the way. I've got a load of movies that I really want to see, so look out for those reviews very, very soon. If you enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.